Thank you for coming back to another episode. Sorry, I forgot what I was gonna say. It's good enough. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Stop Waiting for Friday. Oh my God! Welcome back to another episode of Stop Waiting for Friday. Let me fix this mic. Guys, it's been a while. Like, I feel so good to be sitting here in this seat right now and at the studio. And wow, I feel just so full of life. So full of life to be back and to be doing what I love because I really do enjoy to do this podcast and I enjoy to just, yeah, create this space of contemplation and curiosity and life and experience, and it's really my happy place. So I'm very excited to be here. So thank you for joining me on another episode. Okay, what are we talking about today? What are we talking about today? Let me see. What am I feeling? What are we feeling like talking about today, Akia? I think I want to talk about emotions. Like I feel like I want to talk about emotions, specifically negating emotions, specifically sadness. And why do I want to talk about sadness? Like, who really wants to hear about sadness? Mostly nobody. Mostly we want to avoid sadness or any negating emotion for the most part, but I've actually been doing a lot of work with sadness and with anger in the last few months. And by a lot of work, I mean I've been like really looking at them, like really, what is sadness? What is anger? When sadness comes up, like, where did this come from? Why am I feeling like this? Who did this to me? What did this to me? Why me? And one of the first things I think about is traveling. And why I think about traveling when I think about sadness or anger or any emotion that's negating is because most of us think that we can run somewhere else to escape it. Like, I know so many people that I've met on my journey, and probably me too, subconsciously. Maybe I was trying to do this at some point, but who think that if you leave one place and go to another place, that you kind of get to leave your emotions behind. But you really can't run from yourself. Like, I think everyone who takes that path of going somewhere else to hopefully become happy, to find happiness, to find peace, to find love, you slowly realize that you still got to go back to the root of all the other stuff. Like, you can't escape yourself. So if sadness is there, if anger is there, if shame is there, if guilt is there, you got to face it. Like, you actually have to. It's just a part of human experience and you have to go through it. And I know from the outside looking in, we can look at a lot of travel bloggers, or we can look at a lot of people who have very fancy lives, who have very, yeah, like they just look like they have it all together. And we can look at that and all the things that they have, and we can easily say, oh, they don't suffer. They don't have sadness. They don't, like, I want that because I'll be happy when I get the new car or the bigger house or the bigger paycheck. I'll be happy then. And when I have the car and the house and all that stuff, or the dream job, or I live in the dream place, then I'll never have sadness or shame or guilt or anger or jealousy again. And in my experience of life, that's just not what happens. You don't get to escape emotion, because just as much as we love being happy, like, we love happiness, we love smiles, and we love love, and we love to feel good. Like, who doesn't want to feel good? But the moment sadness comes or anger or anything that just makes us uncomfortable, ooh, mm-mm, mm-mm. And I had to really ask myself, wait, what's the difference? What's really the difference between happiness, sadness, or any other emotion? And I'm still trying to get to the roots of that tree. But what I've come to is it's really not a big difference. They're all just emotions. They're all emotions, and they're all equally beautiful, and they're all equally special, and they all equally have their place in this human experience. Okay. I want to open my jamu, which is a Balinese like herbal drink, and it's really good for when you don't feel. Oh, I just waste some. It's really good when you don't feel well. It's turmeric and a lot of other spices and stuff in here. So it's very good when you don't feel well, or if you do feel well and you just wanna, just like the taste of it. It doesn't hurt to be. Is there a spot? Why is there a spider inside? You know what, little spider? I didn't want to kill you. I wish I would have saw you. Oh, I'm sorry. I don't want to drink you either. Let me take the spider out. Oh, sorry, but I want to put him in the plant. Okay. I'm sorry. Oof, strong and yummy. Okay, it's a lot of ginger in here too, so it really gives you like a Oof, nice little kick. Um, what are emotions? Why do we have them? I can't say that I fully know the depths of emotions, but what I do know is that we have them, and they come and they go, and somehow they they have the power to completely shift how we experience the world, how we experience each moment. So for example, if I'm sitting here and I'm happy, I'll be one way. And if I'm sitting here and I'm sad, I'll perceive the world and perceive myself another way. And if I'm sitting here and I'm angry, then I'll perceive the world and myself another way. And if I'm sitting here and I'm jealous, and it goes on per emotion. So then I really have to ask myself, then am I this emotion? So if I'm sad right now, is Akia a sad person? But wait, because in a few moments I might not be sad. So then is Akia the not sad person? But then something may happen and I might feel jealous about it. Wow, so is Akia a jealous person? And this is how I contemplate emotion. this is kind of the where I go with it, because if it's always changing and if it's always distorting the way I see my reality, then am I this emotion? Is this my fundamental way of being? And as far as I'm concerned, it's not. So because I now see it in that way, and that's the scope of how I see emotions. When I have an emotion, I'm just like curious. What are you? Where did you come from? Like, how am I perceiving the world through this emotion? And it's honestly, you know what? I'm just going to say this. We take life so serious. I think we take ourselves too serious, actually. I don't want to say life. We take ourselves too serious. And I think because we take ourselves so serious and we look at ourselves as so big and so like bigger than the world, bigger than the universe, bigger than I honestly think a lot of us perceive ourselves to be bigger than God, but another story for another day. But because we perceive ourselves this way, we start to get so serious about who we are, and we start to identify with literally every emotion that comes to us. And I think we lose the curiosity about life. We lose the playfulness about life. Like, okay, I'm sad. And of course, being sad is not like, I think we can all say at some point in life we've experienced sadness. And I think we can all say that the experience of sadness or any negating emotion, like it feels very contractive and it feels very, it doesn't feel bright. It doesn't feel like a very bright space to be in. It feels very dark. And that's relative to who you are and how you experience anything and just the path that you the journey and your path, but it definitely is a more contractive thing than when you experience happiness, which feels very bright and very big and very open and so if you just do one exercise, I learned this exercise from my teacher. Right now, just as you are, demonstrate, like just do what sadness feels like to you. Like, act the part. What does it feel like when you're sad? Low shoulders, face kind of pulled down. Just very like contracting, very. And then when you feel happy, how does that feel? Like, how are you? Hey girl, like, what's up? Like, smile, very big, like, chest open, like, very bright. And it's as simple as that. Like, you feel that. So it's not necessarily like they do have two different, vibrations. They feel very different. But we can all say that, we've been through that emotion. It doesn't feel like a great emotion, but if you have some curiosity about when I'm here, what is that? Like, oh, okay, I notice I'm a little bit small. I feel it's like almost like the weight of something is on you, or I feel I don't feel a lot of activity. I don't feel like I don't feel very expressive, or, just playing around with that. And I think just looking at life, always just trying to keep an eye for curiosity, just makes the experience of life so much more fruitful, because that's one thing that separates us. I want to be careful when I use the word separate. That's one thing that differentiates us in this physical realm of, being a human from being an ant or a earthworm or a butterfly or elephant, is that we have memory and we have imagination and we have these emotions that, these different states that we are constantly going through. When I was in Vipassana, and if you don't know what Vipassana is, it's basically, um, it's a practice and it stems from Buddhism, stems from the Buddha. And it's basically you go into complete solitude. You go to perhaps a Vipassana center, and I know there are other retreats and stuff, but you go to a center, you don't have your phone, you don't have a book, you don't have music, you don't have literally like a pen, a paper, nothing. You go to this center, you basically cut off all communication with the outside world and all the busyness of the world, and you meditate for about 1,000 hours in total. About 10 hours a day you meditate for 10 days. And you don't talk to people. So there are other people there, and they separate girls and boys. And you are there on this at this facility amongst other people. You all still like eat in the cafeteria, and then there's a garden area where people walk, where you have like a few moments after you eat breakfast and lunch. So there's still these common areas, these common spaces. And you're in these spaces with people, but there's no talking. It's pure silence. All 10 days is pure silence. And for me, in my experience, I noticed I'm here. Like, so I would sit there and somebody's walking, somebody's just sitting and staring up at the sky or a tree. Somebody is twiddling with their fingers, like you're in this space of like there's literally nothing to do. And yeah, you're navigating that. And I noticed that my mind was judging everyone. I was judging everyone. I was like, why is she doing that? And I probably wouldn't like her. And like just making problems out of thin air. I was just pulling, like literally problem, out of thin air. I hadn't talked to anyone. I hadn't interacted with anyone. I was literally just creating drama. And I realized, this drama is clearly coming from within myself. I'm the drama. Nobody else is doing this drama for me. And, it makes me think of just how we create problems. And maybe it's just an aspect of conditioning and what we, just being in the world. I think it's very easy to create problems. And I think shortly after Vipassana, I said to myself, I've really never had a problem. Like, I've never had a problem. These are things that I've just created. The way I perceive things was as a problem. So that's what, I made it. And I just think that we really have to be careful and be honest with ourselves about when we're creating problems. And when it comes to our emotions, I feel like we can literally, like we are creating a problem with our essential nature, with humanness, with being a human. We're literally battling our human design. We're fighting with the fact that I'm having this emotion, and because I make things good or bad, because we've created these emotions are bad, these emotions are good, we create this problem, and it almost strengthens whatever state we're in. And it's like even with happiness, right? Okay, I'm happy right now. And if I try to keep this happiness, or if I try to hold on to it for dear life, or if I go into a spiral of I'm happy now, but maybe I'll be sad in a few minutes. Like when we start to do that, then you lose you lose the magic of this moment. You lose the magic of that emotion. And I think even with what is it I'm trying to say? I think even with sadness, when you go into this, I'm sad, and this is how I am, and life is so sad, and life is so bad, and it's so bad to be a sad person, and I just want to be happy, because you're not being present in that moment, and you're not sitting with the fact that, okay, right now I'm sad, and this is what sadness feels like. And I did that I for sure did that for so long of sadness. Oh no, gotta run, gotta get out of here. Like, can't be sad. So I run from it and I distract myself and I try to pretend that it's not there. Or I go so far into the sadness where I'm just like, I'm such a sad person. Life is so sad, and these are valid things and we do them, but it's just being aware that I'm going to the future. I'm going to a past memory of what sadness should be like, instead of just being with the emotion. Okay, right now I'm happy, and this is what happiness is. So I'm gonna enjoy this happiness. Sadness comes. Oh, sadness. Okay, I see you right now. I'm sad. What is this experience like of being sad? Dang. All right, and let me do now what I need to do for myself in this moment of sadness. And for me, that has been so helpful. It has been so, so, so helpful on my journey of navigating emotions and navigating how special and how beautiful it is to even have the ability to experience emotions. And noting that in this physical world, in the way that most of us know the world, in the way that most of us see the world, it's in duality. So it's in hot, cold, happy, sad, up, down, in the duality, this, that, and it's understanding, if that is the level of perception that you are in, that if I can accept happiness with open arms, then surely I can accept sadness with open arms. So when my happiness is here, okay, like we're going to be happy and we're going to enjoy this moment. And when my sadness is here, okay, welcome. You know, my teacher says treat everything and everyone as a guest, as a visitor. So when a guest comes to your house, when you have it, you make sure that, you know, you create a space for that guest to feel welcome. You know, you don't do things to make that guest feel like they're not welcomed, or like, oh, I want you to go, or, you know, you don't typically do that. So every guest that you have, you want to treat them with love. You want to welcome them, and you want to listen to them, and you want to understand them, and you want to create a space where they can feel seen. Like, you want to create a space for this guest, and you want to do your best to accommodate this guest in whatever way it shows up. And when it's time for that guest to go, thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for spending time with me. Thank you for, you know, bringing a new perspective to me. Thank you for changing my life. And yes, well go. Welcome. Well go. And I think just navigating emotions from that space just really makes my life easier. There is something I'm learning. There's a word, a phrase, glad acceptance. And it kind of points back to what I was just saying. Glad acceptance is just honoring the things that come a part of this human experience. Like, what a blessing it is to even be alive in this body, to be like a part of this world and this phenomena. Like, it's literally mind blowing when you life is mind blowing. The fact that, oh my God, sometimes this happens to me, and like my body does this, and then sometimes I'm sick, and then sometimes I'm healthy, and sometimes like I have a lot of thoughts, and then sometimes I don't. And for me, it goes back to just this constant curiosity about life, because I feel like when you put your energy there into curiosity, you stop battling yourself. You stop making a garden a battlefield. We're gardens. And when you don't want to create a battlefield inside and start to battle the very thing that you are. You know, battling the fact that, yes, sometimes I'm in perfect health and I feel amazing and I can run a marathon and I can do all these literally amazing things. I can create stuff. I can really be present. And then also sometimes I get sick. It's inevitable. Sometimes sickness comes and I can't really get out of bed and I don't really feel like talking and it's really difficult to eat. And that's just what it is. That's what it means to be in this body. And that's just something that will be here. And I can create a problem with that. Surely. I have a choice. I can be very angry about being sick, or I can have a problem about sickness and not welcome it. And, push it out of my house. But regardless, sickness is knocking at the door. Sickness, I'm here, and I can try to, I can try to leave sickness sitting outside and ringing the bell and this, that, and other. But one way or the, at some point, she gonna come busting the windows because that's just it. So I can create all this drama and have somebody outside and have my neighbors looking like, what's going on over there? The nosy neighbors. Have you ever lived in a community where you have that neighbor that's always like peeping out of the curtain like, ooh, got something going on over there? Yeah, you can attract all of that. Or when the guest arrives, you can gladly accept them. Open the door. Hey. Glad acceptance, it just makes navigating life so much more easy. Who needs to, why do I need to battle myself? Why do I need to battle my very existence and my being? I'm not doing that, and also just realizing when I do it, when I have done it in the past, because a phenomenal part about this humanness, this being is that I have memory. How amazing is memory? Because I remember the last time that such and such came knocking on my door, I didn't want to let them in. And they started beating really loud and trying to bust my windows and kicking and trying to kick down my door. And I remember that. And I also remember all my neighbors were lined up on the street. People were calling the police and there was a big drama. I remember that. But I don't want that because that didn't feel good. That didn't feel good having to deal with all of that. So this time, when this guest comes, I'm going to handle this a different way. And how you choose to handle it, that's another magical part of life, because how we choose to handle it, it's like a plethora of choices. There's so much choice. It's endless. There's an infinite amount of choices. So however I choose to handle it is completely up to me. But I remember how I handled it last time. And if that didn't feel good, or if that didn't feel right, or if I know maybe I want to handle it differently, now I have that choice to be able to do that. But if I don't exercise glad acceptance, yeah, there's just drama. Who likes drama? I don't like drama. When I was younger, I feel like I never really was a person that was in a lot of drama. I've definitely had moments where the drama was through the roof, though. But one thing about me, I'm gonna learn. I specifically remember this time where I had there was these group of friends that I had, and they were like the it girls. And a lot of my friends and family were like, they saw the direction where this was going, and they were like, probably no. I was like, I'm going to experience this, because that's another thing. I love to experience. I love to experience things and just see where they take me. But I'm going to learn. And I remember eventually this friendship situation with this clique, because there was like a clique of girls, it led me into a tornado of drama. It was just drama after drama after drama. It was so much drama, fighting and arguing, and it was all so negating. It was almost always it was almost like never an environment that was uplifting to be in. It was always kind of, we go to a party and there'd be a big fight, and, we'd be fighting amongst each other and very shady with each other. And it was just like that. And I can assure you, and that was, I was in high school then. I can assure you that I learned, because that type of situation, there's no opportunity for that to end up in my life, because I learned so deeply to my core that, yeah, that doesn't work for me. And that's just not the way that I want to navigate friendship. That's not the way I want to navigate connection. And I learned from that. That's the beauty about being able to experience, because you can experience things and then you can remember, oh, I know how that felt. I just went through a breakup. This is another good example. I just went through a breakup. And, I have a lot of friends that, how are you? How's it going? And I'm like, I'm great. I'm great. Like, I'm good. Like, all feels well, and of course they're like, are you sure? Like, are you, because we're so used to breakups being very dramatic. But I, I know I remember. I have the memory to remember what it feels like in a breakup where there's big arguments, there's big drama, throwing things, blame game, you did this, you did that. I remember that. I know what that feels like. And I've also had a glimpse into what it feels like in a breakup to not have that. How peaceful it feels, and how, accepting it feels, and just how cordial it feels to not have an explosion. And I'm like, I choose that. I choose the peace. I choose the glad acceptance. I choose to learn the lesson that life is trying to teach me. And that also means that today I might feel very great and wow, I'm very happy about, just life and coming out of a relationship, and I feel okay about it, and I'm not bothered, and I don't have turmoil. And then, I don't know, tomorrow, sadness might come. Oh, I'm a little sad today because I want to be cuddled, or I need a hug and I'm so used to that person hugging me. Okay. But I'm definitely, I definitely remember how it feels to be in a certain space. There's a term called it's neti neti. And it's like, for example, you go to a movie theater, right? You sit, got your popcorn, you got your slushy, and you're at the movie theater to watch the movie. And you're watching an action movie. So there's fire and tsunamis and car accidents and crashes and stuff, things blowing up, right? All of that's happening on the screen, but the screen never gets affected. The actual movie screen never catches fire, or the tsunami, the water doesn't actually impact the screen. It's all just playing on the screen. It's just all just there playing. And it's sort of like our emotions, right? The emotions are playing out. It's happening. This is a part of this human experience. The emotions are playing out. They're doing what emotions do. The sadness is showing up on the screen. The happiness is showing up on the screen. Ooh, jealousy on the screen. Guilt on the screen. And there's this this is for everyone to contemplate on their own, but then there's us, the seer, right? Never really affected, because all of these things are coming and going, coming and going. All of our state of being is our state of being is constantly changing, constantly. I mean, in 1 minute you're like this, and the next, I mean, you think you wake up in the morning and you have a certain level of inertia and energy. You can do a lot of stuff and you're ready to go out and this, and you got to go to work and school, and by the end of the day you're tired. You don't stay on 10 all day consistently. Just play with that. Am I ever the same way all day? Am I in the same state? If I'm happy at one point, am I in that same state of happiness all day? If I'm hungry, am I hungry all day? Because once I satisfy that hunger, there's no more hunger. Once the hunger is satisfied, it's no longer. So if I'm thirsty, if I'm itchy, if I have an itch, if my skin is itching, oh, I'm itchy. scratch it. It's no longer. I take care of it, no longer. So I love that phrase, neti neti. You know, the screen is never actually burned, or, the screen is actually never impacted. It's definitely something to contemplate. I will say that. Like I said, don't take nothing I say as truth. Figure it out for yourself. Do you experiment with your life? I feel like that's my that's my little saying. Experiment with your life. Ask yourself questions. Because the thing is, nobody can tell you. Like, I can sit here and talk about happiness and sadness and whatever other emotions, but they manifest very differently for me than they would for you. And you might experience them. We have this spectrum, and you might experience sadness times 500, or I might experience like the depths of sadness, and you might relatively be like, okay. Or somebody who, I have a cousin. She's always very like, she's a very, what is the word we would call it, like monotone? She's very just like, okay, okay, okay. So even moments where for someone it would be like, oh my God, like, she's just like, So it's just like that spectrum of we're all, the way things manifest for us it looks very different. So you can't really take anyone's word. You kind of just have to experiment for yourself. Okay, so all of this talk about sadness and all of this, like, all of this kind of stuff, but it's like, what do you do when you're sad? Like, how do you work through that? Or how do you sit with dark emotions, or, negating emotions? I know for me, because I've been really looking at this closely, y'all, like, whenever I feel like, oof, sad or whatever, and I'm using sadness because that's typically, I was just telling my friend, I feel like based on our karmas or how life unfolds for us, we all experience all emotions at some point. However, sometimes they manifest differently for everyone. So like one is more prominent. Prominent or predominant? Prominent. You know what I mean. Or maybe not. I don't remember that word. One is more like intense. So for me, what typically, like, I don't necessarily experience so much of shame or guilt. I'm more in the anger, sadness. Like, those really, when I'm in a negating state, anger and sadness are what comes up for me a lot. So that's why I'm focusing on anger and sadness, because that's typically my experience. I don't really feel much guilt or shame or jealousy or things like that. They may come, but they're just not the more intense one, the most intense. So when I am sad, first, I'm honest with myself. Today I was struggling a little bit with my emotions, and I decided that I needed, one, to create enough space within myself to actually feel the emotion that I was going through, which was sadness, and accept that sadness was happening. And once I accepted that, figure out things that could be nourishing to relieve my sadness a little bit. And one thing I very, very like to do is give myself space. And, ooh, 2 dragonflies. I think they're mating. I like to give myself space, and I really like to spend time out in nature, because it really allows me to see, one, that everything is okay, and to accept things as they are. Because when I come to a place like this, I'm not expecting for anything to be different than what it is. Anything. The waterfall is the way the waterfall is. The rocks are the way that the rocks are. The trees are the way that the trees are. And I think that's so important, to be honest with ourselves. Oh, we don't do it enough. We don't do it enough. I just start learning what it meant to be honest to myself. And it's really freeing to be honest with yourself and to not be putting on a facade, because how can you lie to yourself? You can, the thing is, we can pretend, like we can try to suppress, but you really can't lie to yourself, can you? Like, you really can't. You can try, but it doesn't really last for long. And I think the sooner I'm honest with the fact that, oh, okay, you're sad right now. Sadness is here. And the moment I'm honest, then I'm like, okay, sadness. And I'm not trying to push it anywhere. I'm not trying to run it out. I'm just like, this is this is what this moment is calling for. And only then I can actually deal with it. Only then I can actually try to get to the root of, okay, what do you need right now? Like, how can we work with this sadness? Like, what sadness, how can I support you on your journey here? Like when a guest comes to your house, you're like, okay, what do you want to eat? What do you want, water or tea or juice? Sadness, what is it? Like, what can I get you today? And only when I accept the fact that I'm sad or going through that emotion is when I can actually, be there with it and console it and accommodate it. And I know for me, I love to, when I'm out in nature, it brings me back. It brings me back. It brings me back. Wow. It's almost unbelieving how good I feel. It's not unbelievable actually, but just from, you know, my state of being sad, right? When I got here and now I'm leaving maybe 2 or 3 hours later. And yeah, I feel very light and very peaceful and very energetic, and I feel so loving. Like I feel like love. It's just like a reminder, like, this is a part of this amazing experience of being a human. This is beautiful to feel this, to have this, to feel this emotion. How can I work with this? How can I transform this? How can I transform this anger? It's almost like a experiment. Like, ooh, and I get very curious about it, and I try to be in that space, and that really helps me so much to work through negating emotions, to be playful with it, and to not get so fixated and so serious and so hardened about it. It's just like, okay, sadness is here, and I'm gonna see what arises from this. And honestly, I noticed that when I take that route, I get to a solution, or I'm able to transform it much easier than when I try to suppress it or act like it's not happening. Listen, I'm the person now, like if I need to cry, I'm gonna cry in that moment. Like, that's just it. I don't care who's around or what's going on. Like, it's coming out. Like, this is where we're gonna be. If I feel like I'm gonna do the ugly cry, the ugly cry. If I'm gonna do the ugly cry, I'm gonna do the ugly cry. And whoever, I'm not trying to hide that, because that's beautiful. And I know what it feels like to cry. After you cry, it feels great. That release of just, whew, all right, now that that's out, let's get to business. Let's get to work. But the moment I try to, oh my God, for example, you got, oh my God, this feeling when you have to cry, but you don't, and your throat, like it's stuck, like your throat gets tight. Do you know that feeling? Just that alone, just like being aware of that. The feeling of trying to suppress tears. Oh my God, that's not fun. Like that feeling is just very like, the throat gets so dry and like you could barely talk. I'm trying to like act it out. But it's just like that's that memory. I'm remembering what that feels like. I'm sorry. Maybe that works for somebody, but I don't like that. I'm gonna cry. Like, I'm letting this out, and somebody got a problem with that. That's their problem. But I'll be on the back of my Gojek, like, like, are you okay? Yeah, I'm all right. I'm all right. Everything okay? Like, I'm just, going through something right now. And then literally in a few minutes, and even just like in a few minutes, I'll be like, okay. Well, even in a few hours sometimes it takes hours. It's very subjective. For somebody, sadness might stick around for a year or two or a few years. For some of us, happiness sticks around for a long time, and then, a shift. So that's the difference between, a state and a stage, right? Stages tend to stick around a bit longer, like how, you'll see a person and be like, oh, she's always happy, or she's always. Of course, that person still goes through other emotions, but like most of the time, mostly, you see this person in a stage that they're in is a very uplifting stage, and they've figured out a way to navigate whatever. Or you see someone, you're like, damn, always angry. That's typically where they end up for a long period of time. But surely that person still experiences other emotions. It's not just anger. Anger is just not sitting there, unless they're, in the mind, maybe that's what's happening. But anger is just not sitting there consistently, because life is always changing. It's change all the time. Every microsecond, change. Who got to change? I got to change. Who wanna change? I wanna change. And change is okay, I'm doing too much. I feel like I just want to demystify or create less of a taboo for emotions. Like, because I hear so much people saying, or believing that I just want to be happy all the time. Like, I just always want happiness. And while you can have joy in and through all emotions, you can. It's possible. It's possible to, because that's what comes with glad acceptance, where it's like you're unwavered, right? So whatever guest comes to my house, I'm still going to, I'm still going to accommodate that guest. If the guest shows up and the guest is anger, or if the guest is shame, or if the guest is jealousy or guilt, I'm going to be the best host that I can be for this guest, and that's joy. That's the real happiness. What we would say the real happiness is, and I think that people can have the idea that sadness or all of these other things, like at some point, they will never ever exist again while we're in human bodies. Like that they'll never show up again. And I'm not saying that it's not possible. I have not explored all the depths of human life, right? But I know for this stage of life that I'm journeying through, and with the misconceptions that I had about happiness and all other emotions, is that it's not about trying to rid yourself of emotions, because that's trying to rid yourself of humanness, of what it means to be alive. You not want to be alive? Do we not want to be alive? I don't want to rid myself of the very nature of being alive and being able to be here in this world, right? I'm here, and I want to fully embrace that. I want to embrace being here, and I want to embrace everything that comes with being here. And I just believe that the more comfortable we get with our very nature of who we are, and understanding who we are, reading the user's manual of who we are, it makes life more enjoyable and easier and more peaceful. And you find joy in all things, and not just the things that we want, that we tell ourselves we want. Oh, I want happiness, so I can only find joy and happiness. And if anything else happens, I won't be happy, or I can't be happy, or life is bad. And I just would like to share my experience there, and hopefully this resonates with someone, even if it's just one person, or even if it's none at all. It's out there in the world, and ultimately, I just hope it opens up a door within someone where we can start to explore that, right? Like continue to explore and contemplate what these things mean for us, and yeah, how can we live fully? That's it. That's what this is about. Living fully. I tell myself, listen, I'm gonna leave y'all with this. I want to embrace this life fully. I want to enjoy life, and I want to enjoy death. That's my goal. I want to have a very enjoyable life, and I want to have an enjoyable death because I feel like it's all one journey and I want to enjoy this journey. So, whatever comes of it, whatever it looks like, however it shows up, I want to be in a space where I can enjoy it and not create a problem. Not create a problem of what is, because it is what it is. That's it. It is what it is, and I don't want to create a problem trying to manipulate or trying to fight what is, because I can't. So I'm just creating drama, and I don't like drama. Mm-mm.